Is this the real life? An extract from the anthology Shades of the Unknown by John Wing. Thousands of 8-foot white pods were positioned vertically about 3 feet from each other. Above each one was displayed a bright yellow number. Under these incandescent digits was a 4-foot by 3-foot flat screen. Many of these were either blank or broken. Only a few signified life where they showed in red text, Bedford Cryonics Incorporated. However, one monitor in particular indicated it was working, belonging to pod 1967. Technical data scrolled up the screen quickly in small green text. This information abruptly vanished, only to be replaced by bold red letters that declared Pod 1967 disengaging. This kept flashing on and off. A female voice then announced, "Patient 1967 is waking up." Blue lights fixed to the top and bottom of this pod started to blink as the vitrification process was reversed. The pod's lid, made of reinforced glass, was not transparent due to the amount of ice that had formed over its surface. However, a small name plaque was affixed to this to identify the person inside. It simply read, Sally Hickson, aged 15. It took at least 4 hours for the pod to thaw, allowing the patient to safely and gradually reach normal body temperature. At last, the casket's lid issued a hissing noise as it slowly opened. The lights surrounding the pod ceased their flashing while the screen above stated, "Patient 1967 is ready." Nothing else happened. Minutes passed, a good 15 minutes to be exact, before patient 1967 showed signs of life. Her closed eyelids twitched, her lips parted slightly, and her whole frame imperceptibly breathed in and out. Then her eyes opened. She beheld the receptacles opposite her, about 5 feet away, but they were inert or broken, devoid of life. She tried to move her head. She couldn't because a metal strap across her neck prevented such movement. It was the same for her arms and legs. She desperately wanted to free herself, but her restraints were unforgiving. She tried to utter some words, but none escaped her lips. But then, the same female voice from earlier on announced, "Welcome, 1967. The metal bindings instantly retracted, giving her full movement. Weak, groggy, and confused, she stumbled out of her confinement. Such was her frailty that she collapsed to her knees and stayed hunched like that for some time. She raised her head to take a closer look about her. She saw countless pods stretching to the left and right. How many of them were there, she wondered. She clumsily stood up, noticing 4 more tiers of pods above her, all stretching to the far distance. Their number overwhelmed her. She gazed down at herself and saw that she was wearing an all-in-one green suit. There was a small yellow label stitched just below her left shoulder. On it, written in blue, was her name. She didn't understand any of this. Where was she? How had she got here? Where were her friends? The last thing she remembered was her dad. Shooting him. She had killed him, but her dad wasn't on the floor in front of her in a pool of blood. Instead, she was in a... what? She didn't know. Where the hell was she? None of it made sense. "Where am I?" she blurted out to no one in particular, for there was no one she could ask her question to. But she got the shock of her life when a voice responded which sounded close, but somehow very distant at the same time. "This is Bedford Cryonics Incorporated," came the softly spoken female voice. "Who's that?" "I am Val, voice automated liaison." "You're not real?" "If by real, do you mean am I human, then no. I am here to inform, communicate, and aid in whatever way I can. I don't understand any of this. Why am I here? I shouldn't be here. You are here because on the 23rd of March 2017, you died. The last word seemed to hang in the air, taunting her, repeating itself again and again in her mind. Had she heard right? That she had died? She thought to herself, that's impossible. Did you say that I died? You died of an incurable disease known as cancer. You won a case at the High Court, unprecedented at the time for someone so young, to have your body cryogenically frozen in the hope that sometime in the future you might wake up disease-free thanks to the advancements of science. The voice paused before adding, today, that day has arrived. Sally struggled to make sense of any of this. How could I have died? I don't remember any of this. This can't be happening to me. This is not real. She had to get out of here. Sally declared, I want to go home. I want to see my friends. Take me back. In the same calm, composed way, the voice answered her, there is no going back. There is nothing to go back to. Your friends, all that you knew, have long since gone. While you were in your comatose state, whatever you believed you experienced was not real. It was just a dream, nothing more. But it all seems so real, muttered Sally. She couldn't accept it. She couldn't remember a thing about wanting to be frozen. Surely, this reality, where she stood in this vast complex, was a lie, a sham. However, she had to ask, how long have I been in that pod? Without hesitating, Val replied, exactly 284 years, 3 months, and 22 days and 6 hours. Sally buckled under the devastating reply. She sat on the platform with her head in her hands and mumbled again and again, this can't be true. A heart raced in her chest. Her breathing laboured. She felt giddy and nauseous. Please, she wailed, tell me this isn't so. I cannot lie, said the voice. This is real. What I had before was false. Lucy, Clara, Mandy were just figments of my imagination. Sally raised her head. Even my diary. Slowly, reluctantly, painfully, Sally started to accept her present situation. A thought suddenly struck her. Where is everyone? Gone, replied the voice simply. Gone? Gone where? Some died here, most left and never came back. Sally stood up. Why? Why did they leave? I do not know for certain, only that something happened outside. Whatever it was is beyond my knowledge. I only know what happens inside this building. How long ago when this thing happened? Precisely, Val answered. 2 years and 6 months ago. Where exactly is this place? Oakland, California. Sally took in the containers around her. What about the other pods? Why isn't there anyone else? It can't just be me, can it? The voice replied matter-of-factly. There were several large earthquakes. Most of the pods were badly damaged. Those that weren't soon ceased to function. I was programmed to preserve what I could. Yours was the one that has survived fully intact. Therefore, I put all my energy into preserving your life. You are the only human in this complex that is alive. More distressing news that Sally had to endure. Surely she couldn't be the only one. She inspected her surroundings more thoroughly. She could see within her field of vision that numerous pods were damaged or totally inactive. She noticed too debris everywhere, broken or bent pieces of steel, bits of concrete, shattered glass scattered all about her. Even the platform she stood on was warped and insecure. Sally abruptly pronounced, "I want to go outside." "I'm not sure that is wise." "I want to go out," insisted Sally. "Now, if that is what you want." "I do," remarked Sally defiantly. "I really do." "Go to the end of the platform and take the ladders to the top." Sally obeyed the voice. At the platform's end, she climbed a metal ladder. "Aren't there any elevators?" "None of them have worked since the earthquake." Sally's strength had recovered immensely. She ascended with comparative ease, hardly breaking out in a sweat. On her way up, she passed at least 6 more platforms that contained pods that faded off into the distance. All stood up vertically, all of them apparently inactive. Some of them were obviously damaged. In fact, one near to her, the glass had been broken. Inside the container was a skeleton, once male, guessed Sally, whose uniform was in shreds. She shuddered and quickly carried on climbing. At last, she reached the top tier. To her right, a metal door barred her way. "Let me through." "Are you sure about this?" "Of course I am." Door opening. There was a loud click, and the steel obstruction slowly swung ajar. Sally walked through into a well-lit tube-like corridor whose walls were white. The brightness surprised her after the stark dimness into which she had woken. She followed the winding path until she came to another solid barrier. Sally didn't need to ask this time. The metal door clicked open. In front of her were narrow concrete steps. She took them mostly 2 at a time. She was eager to feel fresh air again and the warmth of the sun on her body. At last, after a good 2 minutes of energetic clambering, she was forced to stop when her route suddenly ended. Before her was another ladder that disappeared into a hole in the ceiling. Without hesitating, she gripped the 4th rung and pulled herself up. The way was no longer bathed in a bright light, but in a red, dull glow. Showing no sign of fatigue, she eventually reached the top. This time, there was a circular steel cover, similar to a hatch in a submarine. "Please open it, Val," requested Sally. "I have to make sure that this is what you want. I am responsible for your safety while you are in here." Exasperated that she had to state the obvious, Sally said, Please let me out." "If this is what you want, then I have no choice. But once you go outside, I cannot guarantee your safety." "Just do it." There was a pause, an unbearable silence as far as Sally was concerned. She was on the verge of saying something when the bars that locked the exit suddenly and deafeningly slid across, allowing the hatch to rise. "Thank God," muttered Sally. She climbed the last few rungs and stepped outside. If you're intrigued how this story continues, it is available to download or purchase as a paperback from Amazon in my anthology, Shades of the Unknown.